So one of the first things that I learned is that there's all different kinds of ways to bully somebody. There is physical, there is verbal, there is emotional, there is sexual, and there is cyber. So I need to get some information from you about these kinds of bullying. Who can tell me what physical bullying is? Matthew.
Like punching them and stuff?
Punching. Matthew says that physical bullying is punching. Absolutely. What are some other ideas that you have? Mark.
Beating them up.
Beating people up would certainly count as physical bullying. Zaid?
It's Zaid.
Zaid.
Okay, well, sometimes wrestling.
Okay.
I do that to my brother all the time, but my brother's used to it.
Okay, but sometimes the wrestling that you think is fun maybe is not so much fun for your brother.
Well, we just like playing around.
Yeah, if it's just playing around and you're both getting a lot of fun out of it, that's okay. It's when you're intentionally causing pain for somebody else. So physical bullying is punching, hitting, beating somebody up, pinching, biting, all those kind of things. Does everybody have a pretty good idea about what physical bullying is? Okay. I want to go to verbal bullying, but before I ask you to tell me about verbal bullying, please finish this sentence. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but
Words will never hurt you.
words will never hurt you. My grandmother learned that sentence. My mother learned it. I learned it. My children learned it. My grandchildren learned it. For at least 5 generations, every child has learned sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true. So I have created a new sentence that I would like to teach you. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can break your heart. Would you please repeat that sentence with me? Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can break your heart. And a broken bone, if we had time, how many of you in this room have ever had a broken bone? If we had time to go around this room and I could ask you how long it took your broken bone to heal, what I would learn from having asked this question a lot is that a broken bone can take anywhere from a few weeks to maybe even a year to heal. How long do you think it takes to heal a broken heart? Somebody I haven't called on. Kate.
Forever.
Forever. Thank you, Kate. I believe that's true. I know some adults whose broken hearts have never completely healed because of things that happened even when they were your age. So words are very, very powerful. Now, verbal bullying. Dimitri,
Name calling.
Say it again.
Name calling.
Name calling. Dimitri said name calling, and he's absolutely right. What else is verbal bullying? Mark.
With Kim, since she had chemotherapy, calling her bald.
Yes. Putting somebody down, making them feel uncomfortable. Who else can tell me what verbal bullying is? Okay, Zaid, you're on.
Verbal bullying is also laughing at them.
Yes, yes. It's making comments, using words to cause somebody to feel very uncomfortable, very distressed. So it can be name calling, it can be put downs, it can be screaming, it can be cursing, it can be anything where you use words to make somebody, like when they called Kim bald and she felt so embarrassed, so embarrassing, humiliating. Now, emotional bullying is a kind of bullying where there is no physical contact and there is no language. What can you do to cause pain for somebody without ever touching them or saying a word? Anastasia.
Making dirty looks.
Dirty looks, absolutely. What else is emotional bullying? Jacob.
Excluding people?
Yes, excluding people, leaving people out, not letting somebody sit next to you on the bus, in the cafeteria, not letting somebody sit at your table. Yes, Aiden.
Gossiping.
Gossiping, spreading rumors, making up stories about people, talking about people behind their backs. Yes, Mark.
Just pointing at people and laughing.
Pointing and laughing. Yes, all of those things. Especially the leaving out part. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard stories about where somebody would give a birthday party. And they would invite almost everybody in the class except just a few kids. And then when they all came back to school, everybody would start talking about a wonderful time they had at the birthday party in front of the kids that weren't invited. And one of the saddest stories I ever heard was about a little girl who never got invited to anybody's birthday party. So when it was her birthday, she and her mom made up special invitations, and they invited everybody in the class. And then they went and made cupcakes, and they wrote everybody's name on the cupcake. And they got little gift bags for everybody. And came the day of the birthday party. And guess what happened? Mark.
No one showed up.
No one showed up. No one came. So there are all kinds of ways to cause pain for people. Okay, now I want to talk to you about sexual bullying. And I know this is a kind of a squirmy thing to talk about, but you guys are mature and we need to talk about this. What do you think is sexual bullying at your age level? Kane?
I think it's when a parent or somebody else touches you in a wrong place or does something that you don't want them to do.
And if a parent does that, of course we have a law about that. But when kids do it, it's called sexual bullying. And I think that Aiden had his hand up. Is that true? What were you going to say about sexual bullying?
I was going to say the same thing as Kate.
You were going to say about touching somebody in a place where it shouldn't be touched. Okay. So it could be making fun of somebody's body because, you know, at your age, some kids start developing more quickly than others. Some kids start developing more slowly. And so your bodies are just doing all kinds of things that you have no control over. And when people make fun of your bodies, that is sexual bullying. Yes, see?
Just like, well, in these ages, girls are starting to have more growth spurts.
Yeah.
And boys aren't, so sometimes they could call you short stuff, and even if you're tall, they can make fun of you.
Right. So when kids make fun of somebody's body, that can be really hurtful. Thank you all so much. Well, there's one other part about sexual bullying that I have to talk to you about. And it's uncomfortable for me, but I have to do it. And it's sexual language. I'm talking about words like gay, queer, fag, homo. You know what I'm talking about? The reason that I am willing to stand up here and talk to you about those kind of words and like slut and hoe, you know, is because we have learned. How many of you have heard of the school shootings that have happened in this country? There have been a lot of school shootings in this country where boys have brought guns to school and killed their classmates. Well, the ones that are in jail, the ones that didn't commit suicide after they killed somebody, have been interviewed. And what we learned from interviewing all of those boys is that about almost 2/3 of those boys were never bullies. They were targets. They got picked on. And they got to a point where they just couldn't take it anymore. And those boys shared that the thing that pushed them over the edge, that caused so much rage, was when they were called gays, queers, fags, and homos. So I don't want one more student to pay a price for that language, so I plead with you to give up those words. Now, I want to talk about cyberbullying. Who can tell me what cyberbullying is? Mark.
Bullying someone through the internet.
Yes. Jacob, what do you want to add to that?
On the phone,
Like
Can you speak up?
taking pictures on a phone?
Yes. Have you heard about that, where kids take pictures of somebody on a cell phone, like maybe in the gym class or the locker room or something like that, and then they spread that picture around? Tyler.
Blackmailing?
Blackmailing? Blackmailing needs to go on our list of cruel things that people can do. Matthew.
Like telling them on the internet, if you don't do this, I'll do this.
Yes, right. And that would be kind of like blackmailing. Okay, Mark.
If someone has an inappropriate thing that they hide and you take a picture of it when they're not looking,
Yes.
and then you have to make them do stuff so you won't spread the rumor.
Thank you. Okay. What I want to do now is I want to take a quick vote, because I want you to tell me which of these kinds of bullying you're most concerned about. How many of you are most concerned about physical bullying? How many verbal? How many emotional? How many sexual? How many cyber? Okay. If you were going to be a target, if you were going to be the person that's picked on, I want you to tell me which one of these you would be most concerned about. How many of you would be most concerned about physical? How many verbal? How many emotional? How many sexual? How many cyber? Well, you need to know that this is the answer that I'm getting almost everywhere I go across the country. That what kids are really concerned about is sexual bullying. And I believe that knowledge is power. So you are getting a lot of knowledge from each other this morning, and you need to use that knowledge for yourselves. Yes, Mark?
I read anything about cyber. You wouldn't know who it was, so you couldn't tell the teacher or an adult about it, because you wouldn't know who was blackmailing you. Or
That is
like
true.
that.
The reason that cyberbullying is so painful is because you can do it anonymously. And it's a very cowardly thing to do. And you know that there is a new word that is going to be added. It'll show up in a dictionary pretty soon. And it's called bullycide. And this is kids who commit suicide because of bullying. And bullying by the internet and the cell phones, you know, if somebody in your classroom is bullying you, you know who that person is. And so you can begin to develop some strategies of how to deal with it. But if somebody makes up a story, or makes a lie, or puts something on the internet, and then it gets sent out to thousands and thousands of people, there is no way for you to defend yourself. You don't even know who saw that message. Say it.
Can I do something to that thing on the board really quick?
The pain, rage, and revenge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me explain it first.
Well, I
And-
need to do something to it. I need
Okay.
to make a quick
All right.
thing to it.
All right, Zayn wants to change my pain, rage, and revenge. Ah, that would be wonderful. I'm so glad Zay brought us to this, because this is what I believe. All these kind of things that we do, that we've experienced, that kids are doing to each other, it starts with pain. And then I believe what happens is that when enough pain collects, it turns to rage. And then pretty soon the rage builds up, and somebody starts thinking about, how am I going to get revenge? And then when they cause revenge, that causes pain, and the cycle just keeps going. And it's not only happening in schools. This is happening between countries. This is happening between races. This is happening between tribes and regions. It's going on throughout the world. And I believe that your generation has such an opportunity to make a difference. Because if we would all focus on stopping the pain of anybody whenever we can, think about how we could make the world a kinder place. A kinder place. So I love your red tie.